Hey guys, how's it going? All right, I have seen Halloween Ends, and this is going to be my spoiler-free quick review. Let's get into it. Okay, so first off, I went out in the cosplay yesterday. Had a good time at the theater. Met a few people as well on the way out. Did a few photos and stuff, so that was really cool. And it was fun going in the cosplay. I didn't ask for permission this time and get denied. I just friggin' showed up like that, and it worked out really well. So that's definitely going to be the process moving forward with this kind of a thing. I don't know if I'll have an opportunity to do the cosplay appearance for a Halloween movie again, but anyway, that's what I did. So I took the kids with me as well for this one, so I sort of got a little bit of input from them also. So getting into it without getting spoilerish or anything, I'm going to say overall, I thought the film was pretty good. I mean, I know it's been getting a lot of criticism and such. It's a very, very different movie. You know, like if you are the kind of person who loved 2018 and you like kills and you're looking for the closure to that story and a satisfying ending, you're probably going to be a little choked because it's not quite so satisfying in that respect. As a standalone movie, it would be pretty good. That's why it's got a little bit of this Halloween 3 flavor to it, that it's very different than the other stuff. So that's kind of what I didn't enjoy as much, because it wasn't done exactly how I would have done things, you know what I mean? Like out of the 3 films, I gave the original 2018, the first, new requel, if you will. I gave that movie 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. And with Kills, I would have given it about an 8. It was still, like, I really like Kills. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I really did like it. I mean, the Evil Dies Tonight thing was super annoying, and there were definitely some problems with it. But, as this slasher movie on its own, it was really cool. It was great to see Michael kicking so much ass and reaching that crazy level of, oh my God, how do you stop this guy? Definitely more my kind of movie. So like I said, the 2018 I would have given 8.5, Kills I would have given 8, and this one I probably would give a solid 7 out of 10. And that's not a bad score. It's not the movie that I would have done. You know what I mean? Like the good things about it were they took some risks with this story. They made some ballsy moves that, hearing about them in general, you'd probably be like, oh God, that's going to be terrible. But it's not terrible. It's a good movie. It just feels very separate from the other ones to me. This movie was greatly Corey Cunningham's movie, and I mean Laurie as well. Laurie's story is definitely front and center, but Corey Cunningham, his character he's like the main character. So it's a bold move right there alone. But like I said, it is an interesting story. It was definitely entertaining. I enjoyed it all the way through. I was interested in it. I wasn't as crazy about the ending. And of course, I'm not going to get into what happens because I'm not going to spoil anything for you guys. But it wasn't the satisfying ending I was looking for. I ended up walking out of there thinking, I guess that's the end kind of thing, right? And I wasn't quite as satisfied. I felt like it was a little, I don't know. It didn't quite do the job the way I would have done it. You know what I mean? But like I said, a movie on its own, it almost felt like if it was part of a Halloween series or something, I probably would have liked it a lot more because it seemed like it was very separate from the other two. Like the first two, I feel were very focused on, Michael Myers and the whole main story, right? This one just took a whole different swing about this other character, Corey's character, and all the struggles he's going through and how Laurie and Allison sort of fit into that. So that was a little bit different. I thought Rowan Campbell was really good as Corey. He was probably the best character in the movie, and his acting was great. Like he did a really good job. He really did. Again, it just wasn't that that kind of movie I was expecting. So that made it a little bit tough. Like this movie was definitely Corey's movie, you know? And Laurie's too. I mean, you do get to hear more about her story, but there was like, as for the things I liked about it, that's pretty much it. You know, the story was entertaining. Chris Nelson just killed it with the effects again. The kills were fantastic. Once again, he's done brilliantly in all the movies, in my opinion. And there were some in this one where you're like, whoa, that's pretty wild. Although they didn't show a lot, like in some scenes they were sort of blurred a little bit, and I'm sure that was for the censors, otherwise they could have got a pretty crazy rating. So there is that. That was another thing that was good about it. I thought it had a nice Halloween feel. The cinematography was really good. The acting I thought was very good. Like I said, I already mentioned with Rowan Campbell, he was fantastic. Jamie Lee Curtis was really good in it. Andy Matishak, she did really well too. There were a couple scenes where I thought I probably would have taken another take or two that she did, where I was a little surprised. I was like, I don't know if that's so believable, but there was only one or two moments in the film that I felt that way with a couple of her lines, and I've always felt that way about some of her stuff in in Kills. There were a few moments, but for the most part, I really think she did a very good job. I really like her. And yeah, so overall, story's decent. I think it is worth seeing for sure if you're a fan. I feel like you need to go in with an open mind though. You really do. And just accept the fact that it's probably not going to be the type of closure and ending that you're looking for. But it is a good Halloween movie. Again, the comparisons with Halloween 3 are there. People were fairly divisive on it. It was a pretty divisive movie, that one, and still is today. But of course, there's way more people that love it than hate it, like when it came out, of course, because there's no Michael Myers. But with this one, that's getting into what I didn't like about it. That's one of the things that I didn't really like about it as much, is there isn't nearly enough Michael Myers in this movie. I mean, there's the feel of him and what's going on in the air kind of thing, and there's a link with Corey sort of and Laurie. So I mean, you feel that, but you just Myers just doesn't have the screen time. So that was a big problem for me. He doesn't, and he's we see him vulnerable, and I think we see too much vulnerability, because it's weird. It's just not how you'd want to see Michael Myers, especially after Kills, when he just became like this supercharged, like zombie Jason Voorhees back from the dead, going, how are you going to stop him? And he's just killing everybody. You know what I mean? Like Kills really got insane. You're thinking, how on earth are you going to stop this guy? This guy's a freak. But it's like this time passes and he's weak, he's very weak. And it seems like if he were to kill more, he's going to get his strength back or something. Like you almost see that. It's hard to explain without giving stuff away, but there was some conflicting moments too, though, where you think you see the strength, and then you see maybe he doesn't really have a lot of strength either. So you're kind of like, So that's a little strange. It's a very different movie, and it's weird in all the ways we figured it would be weird. You know what I mean? Like we heard that Michael sort of has like a colleague, right? And that's a little weird. The whole way it was executed wasn't exactly the way I would have done it. Again, wrapping it all up and the ending of it, I wasn't as satisfied with. It's not how I would have done it. I know some people liked it. Like Jimmy Champagne, for example, is of course a mega fan, and he likes just about everything. So not surprisingly, he loved it. And then there's guys like Cosplay Chris, who was on the other end of it and gave it like a 5 out of 10. And I think Jimmy probably would have given it a 9 or something like that. Maybe 8.5 or probably a 9. I think, by the way his review sounded. Yeah, I just couldn't do that. I mean, for me, I would say it's a solid 7. Again, good movie, just not what I would have done, not my Michael Myers. And I thought they didn't focus enough on what the whole subject was about in 2018 and Kills. And they just kind of went off on this whole Corey story. And I know they tried to, bring it to a close, bring it to an end, right? And they were doing it with this character and through this method, and that's fine. Like, I mean, it is an interesting movie. It's just not how I would have done it. I sort of agree with Cosplay Chris's opinion in that it should have all been done in one night, which is what they were originally going to do. They did the 2018 film, and they just wanted to see how it went over. Went over really well, and they got a deal for 2 more. So that's kind of how that went down. So the idea was, okay, we're gonna keep going through that same night, and we're gonna have an ending right there. And I think that would have been a little better because we still would have gotten our same Michael Myers, the James Jude Courtney badass that is really one of my favorite Myers ever. Like, he's right up there with the OG Nick Castle, in my opinion. I thought he played him very, very well. Like, James Jude Courtney deserves a lot of credit, but in this one, I feel like he was way in the shadows and kind of lost. He didn't get a lot in this movie, and like I said, the ending for me wasn't as satisfying. Yeah, so I feel like we should have had more Michael Myers in it, I think, to keep people happier. And it was kind of all over the place. There's a lot of new characters that are popped in here, and not enough emphasis on the characters that I wanted to know more about, so that made it a little bit tough. And the whole battle scene, I mean, we know Laurie and Michael are going to battle. Well, that scene was incredibly short, to be honest. It's just not a long scene. Like, Michael Myers' camera time, I swear, it's probably 15 minutes, and for a lot of it, we're seeing him vulnerable. But yet, for some scenes, he looks like the badass he always was, with all kinds of strength. So it's a little confusing that way, but the whole battle scene with him and Laurie, I thought, was not nearly as long as it should have been. And it kind of left me with a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth over that one. And my kids were basically on the same page. My son thought it started really slow, and it was a little on the, what's going on side. He wasn't as into it, and he said it started to get a little better as it went on. Both of them were kind of like me. They thought it was a decent movie as well, but they didn't like it as much as the previous 2, that's for sure. And they didn't like some of the directions they went, and again, the lack of Michael Myers. I'm hearing that a lot. I think that was definitely a mistake. They should have had a little more of him on camera, a little more exposure. And there was just so much going on with the story, it seemed to get a little muddled. Like, the 2018 film was pretty simple, They had a story, like a projection, and it was great. And this, I feel, got really, really complex. And when you bring in a new main character, and he's like the focus of pretty much the whole movie, that's taking a big risk. So on one side of it, I commend them for doing that because it's really bold. And I feel like the end product was a pretty good movie. However, on the other side of it, it was pretty unsatisfying for what I was looking for, right? So that's kind of how I feel about it for the, spoiler-free review that I'm leaving now. It was a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I would have done things a little differently. But again, it's not a terrible movie. If you go into it with an open mind that you want to see a Halloween themed movie, it's probably a little more like, imagine they made a Halloween movie in that universe and it was a whole different story about this Corey guy, and he's sort of mixed up with, the Strodes, or, well, Allison and Laurie and the rest of it, and there's this whole sub-story. It would be interesting and good, and it sort of features Michael Myers, It wasn't like his movie at all. And I think they said that. They really said this isn't Michael Myers' movie. And now I clearly know what they mean by that, because it really isn't really his movie. He just doesn't get to shine in this one. And I think that's what's probably hurting it with most of the mainstream fans, is not enough Michael. And I think they would have wanted to see more of that and have more of his story with Laurie rather than Corey's struggle with what's going on with him. You know, from the synopsis, he had some experience with a kid he was babysitting. This kid died one way or another, and he is sort of, the town kind of holds him responsible. So he's dealing with, you know, a lot of hatred and a lot of butting heads and stuff. And of course, Laurie is too, from all the shit that went down in 2018. A lot of people are, you know, kind of blaming her for some of that stuff happening, right? So there's animosity there, and I think that's why those characters sort of relate to each other a little bit, as Laurie and Corey, and how Allison got mixed in there, because they've, you know, they can sort of somehow relate to the experiences they've had. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can say without getting into big specifics. But if you want to see it, you know, if you're a Halloween fan, definitely watch it. Just have an open mind. Like, don't go in there and expect, oh, this is going to be so bad and I'm just going to shit on it. Just go into it thinking you're going to see a Halloween movie. It's going to feature Michael Myers too, and you are going to get the end of that whole story we've been watching, even though it's likely not going to be the ending you want, and it might leave you a little disappointed in that respect. If you go in expecting that a bit, you'll probably still enjoy it. Like I said, I gave it a 7 out of 10, and that to me is a rewatchable, solid movie. There are people out there that are saying, oh, this is the worst Halloween movie ever and stuff, and that is just total nonsense. There's no way. I mean, Halloween 5 is pure garbage. You know, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is just terrible. Resurrection is terrible. They're far worse, you know? And I think it's better than some of the other movies as well that are sort of in the middle. It's kind of, it'll be interesting to see where I put it in my new ranking, but it really is not a bad movie. So go out and see it, check it out, have an open mind, and I'm sure you'll find a way to enjoy it. So that's it for the spoiler-free review. 7 out of 10, like I said. So I will be doing a spoiler review, as well, shortly after this. I'll get all my thoughts out on it, and we'll talk a little bit about what things happened and, you know, what you liked and what you didn't like, and we will go from there. But anyway, thanks so much for watching today, and we will see you again real soon for the spoiler review.